Okay, it's recording. Okay, so can you give us your name?
Yes, my name's Megan Bawley.
Okay, and where do you currently work and what's your position?
I am the instructional coach at Brighter Choice Charter School for Girls. This is my seventh year there. I taught music, I taught ELA, and now this is my first year as the instructional coach.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with a few questions and then you can kind of give your experience. So my first question is, can you give some specific reasons as to why you are pro charter school?
Yes, so where I work, it's an all-girls school, which is not the case for every charter school, but I feel like we provide an opportunity that not all students would get. We really have autonomy in our curriculum. So if we find that something's not working for our scholars,
Hmm.
we're able to adjust and bring new ideas to our administration. That's another thing I feel completely supported by my administration. Um,
Which is
th-
important.
yeah, their
Yeah.
doors are always open. And even now in my new role, I know that the teachers feel comfortable coming to me or like, hey, can you come up and watch this lesson? Something didn't work yesterday. Maybe you have ideas. It just really is like a big family, and you don't find that at every school that you're at.
No,
Um,
definitely do. I feel like in my experience, people who transition into like instructional coaches, the teachers looked at them like differently or they felt like they couldn't go to them like after.
yeah, and I tried to keep my relationships with all of my teachers the same. Like, I don't view that us as administration are above them at all. We're all on the same level. We're working for the same goal, and we're a team.
Yeah.
Um, I also feel like our scholars, I work inner city, so they wear uniforms. I think that makes it really an even playing field for
Yeah, that makes
everyone.
sense.
Because it's an all girls school, they really strive to excel and perform well. There's no real outside like, ooh, that boy, or ooh, this.
Right.
Like, we truly have them strive to be scholars and want them to continue to see themselves moving to high school, college, and beyond.
Okay.
Um, our core values are perseverance, integrity, citizenship, scholarship, and sisterhood. And that's really, you could see it in them every day in
Yeah.
our school day. So
Um,
I just love it.
no, that's awesome. And it's nice to hear like a positive pro for charter schools because I feel like there's misconceptions and a lot of people don't like them or they don't know much about them.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was like the hours. Like I know you
Mhm.
guys work longer hours. Like how do you feel about that opposed to like public schools?
Yeah, we work 7:25 to 4 is our school day. It's usually 3:30, 4 o'clock, depending on when like buses are done
Right.
loading. Um, For me, it's not a struggle or an issue because I see the benefit that it has on our scholars. I know that people that have children, that's where it becomes hard.
Mhm.
But I have seen a lot of them make it work. But
Yeah.
that's something that pulls at teachers when they do become like moms or dads. Like,
Right.
they might not feel that the hours are conducive. But then I have friends that have been here for 10 years and they make it work with two or more kids.
Right.
So it's really just depending on your life and how it works. But I do see the pull towards district schools with the hours where you're out at 2:30, 3 o'clock.
What benefits do you feel like it has with those hours? And then do you feel like that's only because it's more of like an inner city school or no?
No, I feel that the hours have a lot of benefits. We're able to have longer core blocks,
Mhm.
which kind of pushes the rigor and it allows you to get more into your day. We have a lot of other opportunities for our girls. There's character education that they get at least once a week. They get science twice a week. So with those things, they're able to fit them into their schedules more.
Right.
Um, and we provide them like with breakfast, free lunch. They get a snack, and if they're in the after school program, they get dinner. So it's
Wow. So they're
a lot of
eating
the
like
time
some of them are
it's
eating all their meals there.
yeah, and a lot of the time that's more beneficial for the parents too.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, awesome. I really like those. I feel like you don't hear about that. And I think the thing with charter schools is you usually hear more of like like the
Political side.
yeah, like that.
Mhm. And a lot of the time, people that are against charter schools, they really don't have an understanding, and I understand that completely because I didn't understand what a charter school was before I was in it, you know?
Yeah,
And I feel like still some teachers ask, like, "Well, what makes us so different?" Like, when they first come to interview or first start, and then they really see the impact that it
right.
has.
The other question I wanted to ask was, I know that charter schools don't have to have certified teachers. Do you feel like that's a positive or a negative, or just what's your take on that?
I see both sides. At my school, about 95 to 98% of our staff is certified.
Mhm.
And we try to hire certified teachers. If we are hiring uncertified, it's usually as like a TA or something that's not going to be in their own classroom.
Right.
It does provide an opportunity, though, for those teachers to build. And we've had a lot of TAs that become teachers or teachers coming from out of state, so they might be certified in another state and come
Oh,
to our
I never
area,
thought about that.
and it
That's
gives them the
really
opportunity to do like their EdTPA and
oh,
get feedback.
yes. No, okay, that's I never thought about it like that, so I'm glad I asked you that question.
Yeah, one of my
Um,
best friend teachers, she's from Missouri and she moved to New York and then she got certified while working at our school.
yeah, and getting certified is challenging.
Very, and it's expensive.
It
So
is
if you're not
expensive.
having a job and then
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So can you just give I feel like you did give some specific experiences that led you to be pro charter school, but I guess in terms of public and charter, like, and you've stayed at charter and you've never
Mhm.
gone to public, am I right?
Yeah,
So
I student taught at public and then
right.
I worked at charter.
So I guess what made you not want to go to public schools, or like made you like happy at a charter school?
So I started working at a middle school and then I moved to an elementary school. And I feel like you really see the impact that you have on the students. You also have a huge support system with the families
Mhm.
because they're choosing to be at our school. They could
Right.
very easily just put them in the elementary school down the street from their house, but they're
Right.
choosing we have students coming from all over the capital region. So
And
I
but they
feel
don't
so
have to pay, right?
no, it's free.
Okay.
And a lot of people think like, oh, charter schools can pick and choose who they admit to their school, which is not the case. That is the case for like privately funded charter schools, but
Okay.
we're not one of those, and there
But
aren't
you're
any.
publicly funded.
Yeah, we're
But
public.
if you were privately funded, then you could pick and choose which students.
It depends on their enrollment, yes. And I have had no experience other than what I've heard about some, but I've heard of some schools that they do like a lottery, which every charter school does if you have a waiting list
Mhm.
to make it fair and everything for everyone. But um, there are schools like down in New York City where they have waiting lists that are years long
Oh,
because the
wow.
charter schools provide such a better education. And I mean, we have waiting lists up here because we outperform the district schools by a great margin. Um,
So, that's what I wanted to ask you about too, like, um, do you have to keep up a certain, like, rigor in your grades and your testing and assessments in order to keep that funding?
Yes. So
Okay.
in order to not only keep funding, but to stay open as a school, we're held to like a higher standard than any other school. We're critiqued where every few years you're up for renewal, which actually this next year we're up for renewal. We just had a meeting about it yesterday with our New York State Ed chairperson.
Okay.
But yeah, we have to outperform the district. We have to like meet state standards with testing, and we are greatly above Albany City School District. We're reaching the greatest districts in the area with our scores.
That's
And I
awesome.
think it's kind of awesome because we don't really teach to the test, where a lot of schools you see like teaching toward the test, but we're doing what works for our students. And I think you
Right.
really see the growth in
The
them.
difference, yeah, because every student's different, so it's impossible to teach them all the same way, which I completely agree with. So let's say, like, you guys, like, weren't performing at that level, like, what happens then? Like, would you get closed down, or would you have, like, a certain amount of time to, like, fix that?
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into renewal. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's your board isn't performing. I have never experienced um, anything like that, especially with grade wise, but they would give you like a warning, I guess, the year prior to you closing, like you're in danger of not being renewed or you're in danger of having like a very short term renewal. Usually that will happen first, like you'll have a 1 year or a 2 year renewal before you're closed down, so you have a chance to prove yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and then one last question. Do you feel that education as a whole would be better if it was only charter schools and no public?
Um, I
It's a hard
no, I
question.
feel I feel like no. One thing that I think I didn't really talk about is like the structure of our school. So we have school-wide language that's used and expectations that are set for the school, so it's used all over the place. And I think that's one thing that, let's say I was to ever go to a public school, that's something that I would want to take with me is like that structure. Making it positive, but also really rigorous and structured and like a warm, strict feel in the classroom. And I
Yeah.
think that it makes it a safe place for them to learn and they know
Mhm.
what to expect. And our behaviors are so little compared to the districts that we pull our scholars from, and that they're being bused from some of the toughest areas in the region. So just to see them want to come to school and want to do their best,
Right,
I
and
think
be
it really
excited.
makes it a safe place, and I would love for every school to have that for their kids.
Okay, awesome. Um, I'm just seeing if I have any more questions. Um, okay, so this is the last question.
Sure,
Sorry.
yeah, no,
For
I could talk
anyone
for
who
hours.
for anyone who doesn't understand charter schools or maybe like has a con against them, would you have any advice?
Yeah, I would say um, go in and observe a charter school. Do your research and
Mhm.
even ask questions. Like I could go on for hours about all the amazing things, and I know public schools do amazing things too. Just because you are pro public school doesn't mean you need to be against charter schools.
Right.
Um, a lot of people think that charter schools are pulling funding from public schools, which again is not the case.
Mhm.
Where we get funding for the student and it's a fraction of what the public school would get. So we're not taking money away, we're not taking budgeting away. We have our own budget. Um, and
So,
we support our public schools too. Like we want everyone to do well.
right. I guess like in terms of like budget and pay, like do you do teachers still get raises every year like they would in public schools?
Yeah, we get so each year you get incremental raises
Mhm.
depending on your performance. Um, Also, we get, and I don't know if every charter school does this, but since I've worked in charter schools, we get merit pay, which is like a bonus, and it's like based on how you are involved in the school and if you're showing up and doing what you need to do. Like that's another thing that makes teachers really excited and happy and
Yeah,
wanting to be there.
I actually just was reading about merit pay because I had like never heard of it and it was pretty interesting. Like I didn't know that it was really a thing.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like
It's like incentives.
it's an
Yeah.
incentive, and it's also like we may not be giving like as big of a raise as the public school because we don't do things at the same rate as public schools, but we also our salaries are very competitive with public schools. Like
Right.
our starting salary matches the starting salaries of public
Right.
schools in the area.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
This is super helpful.